Hi there guys and welcome to another Train Sim 2018 video. Today you join me in another 390 scenario. This one is actually, we're going to do the scenario properly and run it through. This is using Johnny's Class 390 upgrade. Unfortunately, as stated in the previous video, at the moment this is not available for download and we are unsure when or if it will be available for download. One of the guys on the stream the other night said this about this the other day, and think of this as more of a proof of concept. So this is what can be done to the 390. This doesn't necessarily mean that this will happen, but it shows you what can be done in Train Sim. There are reasons why this can't be done, legal reasons, scripting reasons, all sorts of copyright issues, so that's why it cannot be released. But it shows the level of detail we can get out of Train Sim 2018. And that's sort of something I'm really keen on showing off. And that's why I'm driving it again. I know it's a bit frustrating, it's a bit of a tease showing you this and letting you guys all see it and not being able to do anything with it. But at the same time, I also want to show you what's possible with this wonderful train simulator we still have. Don't get me wrong, Train Sim World is still a wonderful product, and hopefully when the editor's out and after that we'll see a massive upsurge in DLC for that. But as it stands, 2018 is still where most of us are. Same thing happened when Rail Simulator first came out. There were still lots of people that stayed on MSTS. People even now use BVE Open Rails MSTS, and some people haven't even got up to this version of Train Simulator. So it's personal choice and preference to what you drive and what you're used to, I suppose. I, for one, do back Train Sim World. You know I do. I give you guys videos on the updates and things like that. At the moment, it doesn't have enough content in it for me to wholeheartedly put my heart and soul into it. There's still too many little niggles that need doing, but it's still a beautiful sim. But what can be done with this? Well, let's have another little look at this and we'll find out, won't we? Right, this is a DP Simulations scenario from the FP01, so Freeware Pack 01. Wonderful DP simulation stuff. Get yourselves over there if you haven't. Briefing, starting just south of Rugby. You're currently awaiting a path through the station, and you're scheduled to call it Stratford only. Stafford only. Well, your booked arrival time is 08:24, so not a massively long scenario. Just something to show this off a bit, really. And for me to try and drive semi-professionally. So first thing I need to do is make sure our pantograph is up. And we'll wait for the line light to come on with that. There we go. And you'll hear the aircon kicking in. There's been various comments about the sounds of this. Now, the sounds for this are not from a 390 because there isn't the recordings for a 390. So yes, it is sounds from different trains. There's mixed the 91. I think there's some 321 sounds in there and a few other bits and pieces. But we'll stick to what we've got. Now, headlight setup I'm still getting used to on this. Yeah, it's just 2 taps, and then it does say it right on there for us. Brilliant. Okay, we are about set up. Let's just keep that in neutral for now. DRA still on. Let's have some instrument lights on. Fun dummy days, let's wait for our path. Let's hope that 350 pulling out there is going to disappear. I think this is also one of the very few videos, if not the only video I've done on the Trent Valley network. Trent Valley lines, Trent Valley, West Coast Main Line, Trent Valley. I call it a multitude of things, just because I never remember what it should be called, really. I couldn't use this route before for a video because it was just unfilmable. It just was completely stuttery. Even on really low settings, and it just looked crap. And considering this is actually a really nice detailed route from Thomson, it's better to be able to show it off in its true light. So let's just wait for this to give us a path through, and we can get going. It is pretty. I found myself every time I'm coming onto Train Sim just wanting to give it a drive. Every time I sat on my computer, really, I've wanted to give it a drive. The physics on it are just nice. I mean, I'm not sure how realistic they are, considering this is mostly guesswork. But a proof of concept is how I describe this now. I think it might have been Gavin on the Facebook group actually that said it. So a big shout out to Gav for that. What are we waiting on? Nothing that I can see. Will it let us tab through here? Signal bus stage approved. Oh yeah, the shuttle lights come on because I didn't tab it. Duh. Right. So it's definitely sort of a 90 or 91 traction motor blower sounds there, isn't it? Won't be too much outside the cab on this one, just because I'm going to put the DSD on in a second, the DVD, and try and play quite realistically. Which should turn out fun, shouldn't it? Knowing me, I might do a bit of reading about the DSD. Not the DSD, about the 390. Still unsure what that next aspect will be, so I'm going to take it a bit easy into here. I'm not actually stopping at Rugby. It's a yellow. It's a bit 40 anyway. Didn't see those guys standing there. That was naughty of me, wasn't it? What was that? Nice. So this scenario itself was set in 2014. I will bring up the briefing because these all come with spectacular briefings. Can't actually see the screen at the moment because I'm faffing with that, but we'll try and keep an eye on what's going on the screen. So we've got green. Let's get ourselves up to 125. I think this is not that one. That one. So the description goes like this. It's Monday morning and you're in charge of a service between London Euston and Liverpool Lime Street. Your directions are 9-car Class 390 Pendolino. Due to overrunning engineering works in both Rugby and Nuneaton, your book path has some slight alterations. These are on your WON. Briefing. That's a neutral section, that's going to cut out on me. Starting just to this, the bit you just read. These come with a really good sort of Word document with what's going on, where the temporary engineering works are, all that sort of thing. Like times until and a RTT real life working timetable, which is nice. And just really watching my speakers. One thing Johnny hasn't managed to fix is the speed set. It's an art form, the speed set of the 390. The sort of knack of it is to press it like now and make sure it's come on, and that should pretty much hold me at 125. And that's on the C key. Same as the standard 390, that's got it on the original one. Nothing new with that. But it's a little bit sort of, it doesn't like gradients, put it that way. If you've got a downhill gradient, it won't hold the speed you've set, it will go over because it won't brake. Should really. I got a DVD with a railway magazine years ago about a speed run in a 390 from Glasgow Central to Euston, and I should really try and dig that out and watch that again. Oh, 325, one of my faves. Just to see what the sounds are like cab-wise in it. I don't think there's that many Pendolino cab ride videos on YouTube, to be fair. I'm also going to try and drive with the neutral sections, well, knowing where, like, reducing my power and stuff as I should do normally. Realistically, some of my driving has been sketchy as hell recently. And a lot of that reason is because if I'm doing sort of route showcasing or anything like that, I tend to be focusing more on the route and things like that other than actually driving the train. And I'm not the best driver out there anyway. But this thing deserves to be driven well. So the Class 3 9s themselves are a type of electric high-speed train operated by Virgin Trains in the United Kingdom. They're EMUs using Fiat's tilting train Pendolino technology, which originally came from the APT and is built by Alstom. 53 9-car units were originally built between 2001 and 2004 for operation on the West Coast Main Line, with an additional 4 trains and also a further 62 coaches built between 2009 and 2012. The trains of the original batch were the last to be assembled at Alstom's Washwood Heath plant before closure in 2005. The remaining train and the trains in the fleet were built in Italy. So that's something I could never sort of remember what the last ones were built at Washwood Heath, but now I know it was the Pendolinos. I like the way it says here. The Class 390 is one of the fastest domestic electric multiple units operating in Britain, with a design speed of 140 miles per hour. However, limitations of track signalling systems restrict the units to a maximum of 125 miles per hour. In September 2006, the Pendolino set a new speed record, completing the 401 miles, the complete length of the West Coast Main Line from Glasgow Central to London Euston in 3 hours 55 minutes, beating the 4 hour 14 minute record for the southbound run previously set in 1981 by its ancestor, the Advanced Passenger Train. The APT retains the ultimate speed record for this route, having completed the northbound journey between London Euston and Glasgow Central in 3 hours 52 minutes in 1984, which included a 5-minute delay due to a signal fault. The fleet's maintained at Alstom's Manchester train depot near Piccadilly Station. That's mad, isn't it? APT still beat it even with a 5-minute delay. So it'd been 3 hours 50 minutes without the 5-minute signal check or whatever it was, signalling problem. Pretty crazy, isn't it? So the story of this all comes down, the Pendolino and the West Coast Main Line modernisation scheme. It was all a bit of a hodgepodge deal, really, because Virgin, in one way, I mean, I know we shouldn't really talk bad about things happening to Virgin regarding other companies keeping their word, because Virgin aren't brilliant at it, but they were told at the time that this would be a 140 mile an hour route, that it would happen, that the modernisation scheme would upgrade the track and signalling enough to be able to provide 140 mile per hour running. But surprise, surprise, that didn't materialise. Oh, being routed a bit funny here, and I'm not going to probably slow down in time because the brakes on this thing are not brilliant. Oh, what happens if you're regen braking and going through a neutral section? To be fair, there's me moaning about the brakes and it's done us pretty well. that initial get coming off the knocking that top bit of the speed off. That's because that track's closed. See, this is what I really like about DP simulations scenarios. There's always little quirks in them, just like AP. Chris's Chrisification scenarios as well are a bit like this. I also did a Whitemead scenario the other day that was on the Matt P stream that Chris was talking about, that Whitemead was actually on my stream the other night and saying about it. I did that and that was brilliant. I will do a video of that. It's got quite fictional stock. Not well, the trains are real, but the AI is not particularly time correct or anything like that, but it's really varied and actually quite nice to play. I think it'd probably make a nice video as well. I'm supposed to get in 8:24, aren't I? Let's try and make up some time. See there, it's getting that speed set right, or just not using it at all. So yeah, with the modernisation scheme not coming up to scratch, it's a little bit like the whole 91 story, isn't it? The 91s are 140 capable, and proved it on many an occasion. There's bits of the track, Stoke Bank especially, where you've got the flashing green aspect. I think it's even still there. But I truly, in my naivety, I mean, this West Coast Mainline modernisation stuff must have been sort of mid-2000s. That must have been started. Oh, it probably was started early, to like 2001, 2002, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but it was probably finished 2009, 2010. I remember it being in Railway magazine stuff. I'm searching for West Coast Mainline modernisation, but that's that could be the older one. And I'm overspeeding now because I was reading. I'm going down to 100 anyway. You see, there's me trying to do it properly. Then my quest to bring you guys accurate information, I get it wrong. Blaming you, all of you. I'm not really. So, by the dawn of the 1990s, it was clear that further modernisation was required. This is after the 1950s, 60s and 70s upgrades that happened on the West Coast Mainline. We won't go into that. This initially took the form of the NC 250 project, but then privatisation of BR intervened, and under which Virgin Trains won a 15-year franchise in 1996 for the run of the long-distance express services on the line. The modernisation plan unveiled by Virgin and the new infrastructure owner, which would have been at the time Railtrack, involved upgrading and renewal of the line to allow the use of tilting Pendolino trains with a maximum speed of 140 miles an hour in place of the previous maximum 110. Railtrack estimated that this upgrade would cost $2 billion and be ready by 2005. Oh dear God. And cut journey times to 1 hour for London Birmingham and 1 hour 45 minutes from London to Manchester. However, these plans proved too ambitious and were subsequent. I can speed up, so let me do that. And were subsequently aborted. Central to the implementation of the plan was the adoption of moving block signalling, which had never been proven on anything more than a simple metro lines and light rail systems, not on a complex high-speed heavy rail network. So yeah, you see, they do these weird things, but that's how we learn, isn't it? We make these mistakes and move on. Despite this, Railtrack made what would prove to be the fatal mistake of not properly assessing the technical viability and cost implementing. 2, 3. There we go. That should hold at 125. So it hadn't done the technical viability and cost implementing Moon Block prior to promising the speed increase to Virgin, and also the government. By 1999, with little headway on the modernisation project, it became apparent to engineers that the technology was not mature enough to be used on the line. The bankruptcy of Railtrack in 2001 and its replacement Network Rail following the replacement by Network Rail following the Hatfield crash brought a reprisal of the plans, while the cost of the upgrade soared following fears that cost overruns on the project would push the final price tag of 13 billion. 13 billion. The plans were scaled down, bringing the cost down to between 8 and 10 billion and be ready for 2008, with a maximum speed for tilting trains of a more modest 125 mile an hour, equaling the speeds available on the East Coast route, but some way short of the original target, and even further behind PR's original vision of 155 miles per hour planned for and achieved with the APT. This is the bit I could never get. So APT ran at 140 on the existing infrastructure on the West Coast Main Line in the 70s and 80s. Now, they modernised this route, and I know there's probably some union interference in this, and the whole thing about signalling, and that's the APT, which worked. So I don't see why we didn't get it. I really don't know why we didn't get it. And the thing is that the West Coast Main Line is constantly, we keep calling it upgrades, but it's like constantly evolving. I mean, going back to the 50s when the first bits of electrification came, and the 60s when it started growing a bit more north, and then the 70s when it got up to Glasgow. It's been going on for ages. The 80s, yeah, fair enough, there wasn't masses done on the West Coast Main Line, but they were testing one of the most advanced passenger trains. Do you see why we keep coming back to this? They were testing one of the most advanced passenger trains in the world on the West Coast Main Line. Now, that to me sort of just shows how advanced we were back then. Or maybe short-sighted, or maybe it was just really lethal and didn't work. I don't really know the answer. Oh, there's the news switch. I thought, hang on, something's going wrong here. There we go. Line lights off, line lights on. Here's a funny little bit. So the West Coast Main Line is one of the busiest freight routes in Europe, carrying 40% of all the UK rail freight traffic. The line is principal rail freight corridor, linking the European mainland via the Channel Tunnel through London and South East England to the West Midlands, North West England and Scotland. The line has been declared a strategic European route and designated a priority, which is a TENS route, which is a trans-European networks. That's cool. I've learned something new in this video as well. What is a trans-European network? Created by the European Union Articles of 154 and 156 of the Treaty of Rome, which stated goals of the creation of an internal market, hang on, that's some wordy business. So an internal market and the reinforcement of economic and social cohesion. To various supporters of this policy, it made very little sense to talk of a big EU market with a freedom of movement within goods, persons and services unless the various regions and national networks making up that market were properly linked by modern and efficient infrastructure. Wow. So I wonder how much we got from the European Union for upgrading the West Coast Main Line. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Shame that's probably never going to happen again. But anyway, this isn't a political video at all. So yeah. Oh, so it's trans-European Transport Network, so it's TENT, and Trans-European Energy Networks, TENE, and Trans-European Telecommunications Networks. So there you go. Double-headed 86s. Do you know, the last 2 times I've been at Ipswich, I've seen them. I did a really ropey phone video on my phone as well when they came through the other day. Was that just before Christmas, I think? So it's the 1955 modernisation plan that saw the West Coast Main Line electrified in stages between 1959 and 1974. Crewe Manchester, Crewe Liverpool, the electrification went south to London, the first electric service from London on the 12th of November 1965, with full public service from 18th of April 1966. Electrification of the Birmingham line was completed on March 6, 1967. In March 1970, the government approved the electrification between Weaver Junction and Glasgow. That was completed in May 74. It's cool. If you've ever seen the British Transport Films video on that, it's called Points and Aspects. It's a brilliant film. Now, I'm not one for, what do they call it, cinematics? I don't know, like how well a video's put together, hence my own videos. But it is just really well put together. I'm not a film snob. I very rarely get a chance to sit and watch films. Put it this way, over Christmas I finally actually watched all the Bourne films in one. So, how long have they been out? Quite a long time. And I tell you something, if I'd watched them and then had to wait 2 years to find out what happened to the next one, I'd have been gutted. Box set generation, me. Modernisation also saw the demolition and development of several key stations on the line. British Rail was keen to symbolise the coming of the electric age by replacing Victoria-era buildings with new structures built from glass and concrete. Some notable examples of Birmingham New Street. That was always a pretty station. I've got something about sort of the 60s sort of concrete and glass thing. Lots of schools and hospitals and civic buildings were that sort of 1960s boom time. Just make it with loads of concrete and stick some glass in it. Sort of brutalist sort of stuff. But the West Coast Main Line, there's a guy that makes West Coast Main Line miniatures, I think he's actually called, on Facebook, that I follow quite often. He makes some of the really cool like flat roof stations in 4mm scales to 00. It's brilliant. They did also really love a flat roof, didn't they? Too late on that, Al. This will be a bit like the Class 91 I am doing 125. It's saying I'm speeding, I'm not. I'm just sitting at 125. It really does feel like you're on a main line though, doesn't it? It gives you that sort of high-speedy buzz. And you guys know I'm all for a bit of high-speed running. I really enjoy high-speed running. But I've also got right into my branch lines recently, trying out some of these guys' freeware work, which most freeware stuff tends to be just because of the amount of work something like this takes. This really does take a bit of a team. But I've really got into them. The Parnuki line, the new route from DPS, the Harrogate line, I just want to learn them. I just want to sit and learn them. I was trying to make up time and I'm coming in too early. Not coming into the station too early, coming into the speed restriction too early. That's a nice bit of junction, that. I like that a lot. I mean, custom asset creation wise and everything on this route, Thomson knocked this ball way out the park, to coin a very American phrase, but it's beautiful. Just said that crossing those bridges with those lions heads standing there. Oh, let's have a little look. Cap light on. Oh yeah. That's just nice to be able to do that. Just nice to be able to do that. Just really wish there was a way to tilt driving position with the train. That would be nice. I'm glad this is bringing us in quite gently. Even though I should be in there now. It's over 60 the tilt stop starts, I'm not sure, I can't really remember. $70 pulling out as well, nice. Beautiful little run, that. Really enjoyed that. No fuss, but with enough to keep you occupied. Again, 10 points DPS for that one. Oh, I should really sort out my stopping distances. I'm never very good at it. Alright then, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Oh, let the train take the strain. With a tired 40 railcast. Quite like that. Bit of humour in there, Mr. Thomson. Bit of humour. Yeah, alright then, guys. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Once again, just to reiterate, this is not available for download. So please do note that. That's irritating. It's not available for download. As soon as it is, by God, I'll let you know. And just make sure you're over on my Facebook page or Johnny's Facebook page. You'll find out soon enough if what's going on with it and keep up to date with it. So once again, guys, thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll catch you soon.